PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub, as we are in the off season with your Vegas Golden Knights, we are going to be discussing who is the main rival of your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I am aware that about a year ago, we made a video talking about the main rival, but over the last 12 months, there has been a big shift in the rivalry section of the Vegas Golden Knights. As a matter of fact, there has been 2 new teams that have been added to this list, and it's very vital to put them on there. So we are going to be discussing all of that and talking about the main rival of your Vegas Golden Knights on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Now, before getting into the list and breaking down the 5 main rivals your Vegas Golden Knights have, I have 2 stipulations or 2 notes I do want to mention before we do this. First, no Eastern Conference teams. With the Vegas Golden Knights being on the West Coast, with them being in the Pacific Division, it is very difficult to have an Eastern Conference rival that you are going to face every single year, repeatedly, multiple times per season. And also in the Eastern Conference, I'm going to say that there really hasn't been any major rivalry the Vegas Golden Knights have had on their end. Now, the Buffalo Sabres probably hate Vegas because of the whole Jack Eichel situation, the fact the Vegas Golden Knights took Jack Eichel and now he won a Stanley Cup. But is that really our fault, though? Or is it just the fact that the Buffalo Sabres are the NHL's farm system? So I don't really consider them a rival at all. I mean, Detroit, when they ran over Marc-Andre Fleury back in the inaugural season, but even then, that's not really a big deal in terms of the grand scheme of things. Florida and Washington, them being in the Stanley Cup final and the physicality and the brutality of those series, I guess you could say kind of is a rivalry, but it's not a major rivalry. I don't think Florida and Vegas is going to become a major rivalry unless they meet up in the finals multiple times, unless, it's a Pittsburgh-Detroit situation, like it was in the 2000s. I mean, Montreal, because of what happened in the Western Conference Finals in that 2020-2021 season, but even then, would that really be classified as a rivalry? The fact that Vegas lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Montreal Canadiens that one year. I mean, I guess if you really want to be petty and put it up there, but I don't really classify it as. And overall, I know Pittsburgh Penguins fans, the whole Marc-Andre Fleury situation when it first happened, but it's been so many years since that point, you kind of let that go. I mean, I'm just really looking back on it, really trying to think, is there any major Eastern Conference team that Vegas Golden Knights would be a rival of? I'm going to sit here and say no in terms of a major rivalry. So that's the first part. No teams from the Eastern Conference are on that list. And then secondly, I knocked out about a dozen teams because there really hasn't been any major incident between Vegas and this team where you could sit here and say they would be a main rival. I'm talking about, for example, a team like the Calgary Flames. Even though the Calgary Flames are in the Pacific Division and they are a foe of Vegas, and they technically should be, there really hasn't been any major situation involving them that has caused a problem for Vegas over the years. Chicago Blackhawks are the same way. Even though the Blackhawks in Chicago is a major market here in Las Vegas, there really hasn't been a situation where Chicago has made a problem for Vegas. So even when they met in the first round of the playoffs back in 2020, there really wasn't any intensity or any rivalry there in that situation. Kind of similar to the Minnesota Wild as of recent years. I understood that when they faced off in the playoffs, there was some rivalry there, but it really didn't connect on that level. Who else can come to mind? St. Louis really hasn't been one. Seattle, even though they're the two newest expansion teams, there really hasn't been any bad blood or animosity there. So there's been like a handful of teams that you can eliminate just because there hasn't been any one major incident between those two in the 7 years that they have been around. So, I mean, let's get into this video. Let's talk about the top 5. But I just want to put those 2 disclaimers out there that 1, there is no Eastern Conference teams. And 2, if they have not had any like major altercations, or if there isn't, any good reason to put them on a top 5 list of being a main rival, I took them off the list. So now let's get into the video and let's talk about number 5, which is the Los Angeles Kings. And it's very interesting when you study the impact that LA has with Las Vegas. And, from the very beginning, when the team was announced, it made a lot of sense that there would be some friction and a potential rivalry between the state of California and the state of Nevada. And over the last 7 years, we have seen that rivalry form between LA and Vegas. I mean, after all, the first postseason and the first playoff opponent the Vegas Golden Knights would ever go up against would be the Los Angeles Kings. Of course, you had players like Drew Doughty, undermine and kind of downplay what the Vegas Golden Knights were going to do. And just because of that, it was so fitting and it was a huge smile on our face when the Vegas Golden Knights would pop LA in the mouth and would send them home on that first season. But beyond that, the physicality between these two teams have been on display. The amount of fights and the amount of post whistle scrums that have happened between the Kings and the Golden Knights. And fortunately for Vegas, we really haven't been able to see the LA Kings in the playoffs after that first year, mostly because the LA Kings are, very fortunate to lose the Edmonton Oilers year after year in the first round instead of having to go up against Vegas. But when it comes to the Los Angeles Kings, what I've always been able to appreciate is the fanfare and the transient city like Las Vegas. We have been able to see a decent amount of LA Kings fans come to the Fortress and watch at T-Mobile Arena, and vice versa. We've seen a decent amount of Golden Knights fans. We see a bunch of gold sweaters at the Staples Center when the Kings are playing the Vegas Golden Knights. So overall, this has been a decent rivalry, and I actually like what we have seen from the Kings and the Golden Knights over the past 7 years. And this has been a situation where if you study the LA and Vegas situation, it makes a lot of sense why there would be a natural rivalry. And over the next couple of years, we're going to have to wait and see if they do face off again in the playoffs, and maybe if LA does try to show up and get past the first round someday in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But overall, the Los Angeles Kings, that rivalry between LA and Vegas, that definitely is going to transition over when it comes to football. It transitions over when it comes to potential basketball team. Baseball, we're going to see a bunch of LA Dodgers fans, and we're going to see a bunch of fans come over when eventually Las Vegas gets a baseball team in MLB. So, the Los Angeles Kings, this is just more fitted based off the city and the close proximity between these two, but the amount of fights and scrums and good competitive battles between LA and Vegas has definitely heated up this rivalry over the years. Now, moving over to number 4, and we're going to stay in the state of California, but we're going to go to the team that has unfortunately been on hard times as of late, and that is the Anaheim Ducks. Now, from a casual perspective, the Anaheim Ducks and Vegas Golden Knights don't really have a lot in terms of win-loss record, in terms of their situation. Anaheim, for the 7 seasons that Vegas has been around, for the most part, have been towards the middle or bottom of the standings every single year. And it's actually been a quick minute since the Anaheim Ducks even made it to a playoff appearance. So on the surface, Anaheim and Vegas, they don't really have that rivalry. They don't even really have that postseason situation because they've never even faced off face-to-face in the playoffs before. But when you dig a little bit deeper and you watch the regular season games between Anaheim and Vegas, oh my goodness, the amount of physicality and the aggression between these two teams. These are a rivalry where Anaheim and Vegas, they bring out the best in each other in all of these games. Throughout the year, regardless if it's being played at the pond out there in Anaheim or if it's being played at the Fortress here in Vegas, the Anaheim Ducks try to make it a close game every single time. And Vegas tries to make it close every time. That's why we see these 2-1, 3-2, 4-3 games. That's why we've seen these games go into overtime. We have seen a bunch of situations where the Vegas Golden Knights barely get past the Anaheim Ducks. And in that situation, you'll have, over 20 penalty minutes with both teams. You'll see a situation where you'll have King Kolazar drop the gloves, or you'll have a situation in the past where you had Jonathan Marchessault and you had Mark Stone and Ryan Reeves. And there was all these situations where the Anaheim Ducks and Vegas Golden Knights, they brought out the best in each other. And that's really what you can say positively about that. I'm also going to say this, and I do appreciate the reference, by the way, and I'm going to bring this up. Now, there is a website that tracks hockey fights. Okay, it's called hockeyfights.com. And what's interesting is that the team with the most amount of fights against the Vegas Golden Knights is the Anaheim Ducks. So this is an organization where you have seen a decent amount of fights happen with the Vegas Golden Knights. And like I mentioned with King Kolazar and Ryan Reeves, potentially a Braden McNabb every once in a while. These are players that drop the gloves for Vegas, and they go up against the Anaheim Ducks, and we've seen those fights go up against Vegas in the past. So from a win-loss perspective, you are going to see not much in terms of this. But when you watch Anaheim and Vegas, and I've actually had the privilege of watching Anaheim and Vegas earlier this year, this was a game where the checks were on mark. Regardless if it was on the forecheck, if it was on the back check, if it was a body check that just went perfectly. This is an organization that brings out a lot of intensity from Vegas, and Vegas brings out the intensity from Anaheim. So at number 4 is the Anaheim Ducks when it comes to the main rival of the Vegas Golden. Now, getting into the top 3 when it comes to your main rivals involving the Vegas Golden Knights. And this one really should have no introduction. If you have watched the past few postseasons involving your Vegas Golden Knights, the Edmonton Oilers have to be here. The incidents and the conflicts that took place in not this postseason, because obviously Dallas, and we'll talk about them later, got us in the first round. But in the last off season, I talked about the fact that the Edmonton Oilers were building a reputation for being a pest to the Vegas Golden Knights. I was mentioning how the Edmonton Oilers have really succeeded at getting under Vegas's skin, thanks to players like Evander Kane, thanks to players like Darnell Nurse. There is certain players, we had the Leon Draisaitl incident, when it came to Alex Petrangelo, and that was in the last postseason before this one. You also have Connor McDavid, the best hockey player in the world, who definitely ruffles some feathers if you're on the opposite side. But overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers, the fact that they are in the same division and the fact that they face off in the second round, and they have done this multiple times since they have been here in 7 years. There's been a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers have become common ground enemies. Regardless if you're going to Edmonton and going to the house that Gretzky built, or if you're going to the Fortress and playing at T-Mobile Arena. It's just a situation where Edmonton doesn't like Vegas and Vegas does not like Edmonton. I mean, even when Vegas plays in Edmonton, the Edmonton Oilers, they like to, do inside jokes. They like to, make subtle shots at Vegas, during the commentary. We've seen those. The amount of tweets that have come from Edmonton Oilers fans who just straight up despise the Vegas Golden Knights. And it was a real smile, and I took a lot of pleasure in seeing the Edmonton Oilers lose in the 2023 postseason to the Vegas Golden Knights and how that ended up going down. So, yeah, over the last 2 or 3 years, the Vegas Golden Knights Edmonton Oilers rivalry has escalated to a certain point. And if it wasn't for the 2 opponents ahead of Edmonton, if it wasn't for the 2 rivalries that are still going to be in the mind of every Vegas Golden Knights fan in the world, Edmonton would be higher. But hey, who knows? Maybe in the next 4 or 5 years, Edmonton might surpass the 2 teams I have in front of them. But for right now, I have Edmonton at 3. Really has built a reputation now of being a team that Vegas does not like to play, and Edmonton does not like to play Vegas. And when they have a postseason series, you bring in that physicality, and you're going to get some very good hockey between Edmonton and Vegas. So that is at number 3. Now at number 2, I have to bring up a old wound, and this is a rivalry that for OG Vegas Golden Knights fans, people who have been here since day one, this will forever be in your tool belt. This will ever attack your heart forever as a Vegas Golden Knights fan. But it is the San Jose Sharks. I mean, some people forget how the first 3 seasons of the Vegas Golden Knights being a franchise, the San Jose Sharks was your public enemy number 1. Okay, the San Jose Sharks were your original main rival with the Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, up until about a year or 2 ago, the San Jose Sharks, every single time Vegas took on San Jose, multiple fights, multiple scrums, multiple altercations. There would be a bunch of pushing and shoving and clean, hard-hitting hits between San Jose and Vegas. It was a personal rivalry. I mean, a lot of people forget that when Evander Kane wasn't in Edmonton, he was over in San Jose being annoying to the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, we all remember the fact that Evander Kane and Ryan Reeves and that whole situation when it came to San Jose and Vegas. I mean, we also had the fact that Tomas Hertl is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, longtime San Jose Shark, and Vegas got him at the final minute of the trade deadline this past trade deadline. So overall, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, the San Jose Sharks are the original main rival of the Vegas Golden Knights. And like I said, regardless, if you're a newer fan of the Vegas Golden Knights, if you, joined just around the championship banner, if you're someone who just moved to Vegas and you're, a newer fan of the Vegas Golden Knights, the San Jose Sharks are not going to be that sentimental to you. But, oh, geez, if you were here from the beginning and you were part of that inaugural Vegas Golden Knights 2017-2018 season, San Jose was on site almost every single game. When they faced off in the postseason in the second round in that 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs, that was intense, okay? And then when Vegas blew a 3-1 lead in the first round in 2019, and then, of course, we had the infamous 4 goals in 5 minutes on that 5-minute major, when it came to that situation. And overall, when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks, it just led to a situation where the first 3 seasons, it was a conflict every single time San Jose and Vegas faced off. And it's lessened over the years. I understand San Jose is kind of towards the bottom of the standings now. And a lot of the older guys who were there when Vegas had that rivalry are no longer part of that organization. You don't have Pavelski, you don't have Fortin, you don't have Marlowe, you don't have Kane. Brent Burns not there. Erik Karlsson's not there. Like, there's so many members of the San Jose Sharks back then. Barclay Goodrow. I mean, there was so many guys that San Jose had back then that are not on the roster anymore. In fact, I think the only 2 players left is Logan Couture and Marc-Edouard Vlasic. I think those are the only 2 left from when Vegas and San Jose had that rivalry that was at its peak in intensity. So they're at number 2. I mean, Vegas Golden Knights fans are not going to forget blowing a 3-1 lead and that heartbreaking, glass-shattering Game 7 where Vegas just came up short and got eliminated in 7 games in the first round of 2019. And who knows, maybe there's going to be some event in the next couple of years that reignites this and makes it a number 1 rivalry for Vegas. But for anybody who hasn't figured it out by now, it's going to be pretty clear who the number 1 team is. But before we get into that, let's go over the list one more time. At number 9, it was nobody. Number 8, it was nobody. Number 7, it was nobody. Number 6, it was nobody. But at number 5 was the Los Angeles Kings because of the proximity to LA and the friction between Vegas and Los Angeles and the amount of Vegas residents who have come over from California, a very transient city. That's going to be a natural rivalry there between the Kings and the Golden Knights at number 5. At number 4, the team the Vegas Golden Knights have had the most fights with in franchise history, and that is the Anaheim Ducks. And this has been an organization that in the regular season, they bring out the best in each other at number 4. At number 3, the team that has escalated things in the postseason in the last couple of years, and that is the Edmonton Oilers. We have seen how aggressive Edmonton and Vegas have been in the postseason over the last few years. And then at number 2, the original main rival of the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is the San Jose Sharks. When both of these teams were in the playoffs and competing for the Stanley Cup Finals, trying to make a championship run, those were the years where San Jose was the number 1 target for Vegas. So, as we're talking about who is the Vegas Golden Knights main rival here on Vegas Hockey Hub. But number 1, I think everybody knows who this is going to be. I mean, recency bias is definitely going to come into effect here, but when it comes to the main rival for the Vegas Golden Knights, and really over the last 5 years, this has become the clear tell number 1 main rival for the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is out there in Texas, and that is the Dallas Stars. Now, I understand that we have just gotten off that 7-game loss in the first round. It was soul crushing. I mean, it really took out a lot from Vegas Golden Knights fans, the fact that they lost in those 7 games, despite how passionately Vegas Golden Knights fans are, and despite the intensity of that series. It was just really the fact that we have seen over the last 5 years that the Dallas Stars do not like the Vegas Golden Knights, and the disrespect and the disdain is mutual when it comes to Vegas and Dallas. I mean, I can talk about, the Jamie Benn, Mark Stone situation. I could talk about that for days on end. The fact that Jamie Benn went after the captain Mark Stone in the previous year when that was the Western Conference Finals, when Vegas beat them in 6 games. But when you study this rivalry, the Dallas Stars are the only team that has really beaten Vegas repeatedly in recent years. I mean, in the 2020 Western Conference Finals, during the bubble, the Vegas Golden Knights lost to who? The Dallas Stars. The Vegas Golden Knights this past year, 7 games. Who they lose to? The Dallas Stars. I mean, this is an organization that has faced off repeatedly, even during the regular season. They've had some grueling and some much heated rivalry during that situation. And this is just a team that has been a thorn in Vegas's side over the last couple of years. And you've seen the back and forth when it came to Vegas and overall Dallas. I mean, this is an organization that, when it comes to physicality and after the whistle, pushing and shoving, Dallas has been that team that instigates a lot more with Vegas on that end. And will I be shocked if the Vegas Golden Knights continue to meet up with the Dallas Stars in the next couple of years? No, I will not be shocked at all. Do I also think that it's a possibility that this rivalry will continue to inflame and will continue to get, much more heated as years go by. No, I will not be shocked. But your number one main rival for the Vegas Golden Knights is a team that they just lost in 7 games to, and that is the Dallas Stars. Now, if you agree, comment down below. If you disagree and you want to add a team to it, comment down below. And until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and this was talking about the main rival for the Vegas Golden Knights. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.